Welcome to Truckyo Podcast. My name is Sebastian. This podcast is all about trucking. We love diesel engines, semi-trucks, being on the road, and freedom. So let's go. Mike, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good. Thanks for coming, man.
No problem.
Appreciate you. We were gonna do a Zoom call, and you said, "Hey, I can stop by. I'm not that far."
Yeah.
So thanks for coming, man. Thank you for I know you've been in the Facebook group, and I want to touch base, but can you just give me like a brief background on what you do and what type of operation do you have?
So I'm just a single owner operator, dry van, reefer freight for the most part.
Okay.
Like groceries.
Okay. And how did you get? So you drive a truck, yeah?
Yes.
Your truck, and then do you? I think from what I know that you have multiple units. So we have how many trucks?
Three.
Okay. So we'll get to that, but tell me, how did you start? What was your maybe the time where you were like, hey, I think I'm gonna go become an owner op.
So I was an operations manager for 16 years in a machine shop, and it was time to move on.
Yeah.
And get out of the shop, get on being outside and managing 25 people. It was ready for a change.
Ready for a change. Ready for something for yourself, right?
Yeah.
You want to do something else. Yeah. So tell me, you got your CDL, and how long have you been? When did you get your CDL?
I got it March of last year. So 1 year.
Okay,
yeah.
perfect. And you already have 3 trucks.
Yeah.
Nice. So I want to dig in a little deeper. And so tell me, how did you get into? What was your first buying truck story? Like, what happened with your first truck purchase?
So my first truck I bought was a 2003 Mack CH. I was gonna just do local dump work with it and material hauling, and then that truck didn't turn out to be very reliable. Didn't make it through the first day of work.
Why? What happened there?
It shot all the coolant out, overheated, and spent months in the shop, different mechanics trying to figure out why it's pushing coolant.
Okay, and you told me before we started recording. Can you share what was the problem and what did you figure out?
Well, it was pushing coolant, so everybody was leaning towards head gasket or cracked head or air compressor. And after all that was gone through, it ended up being the water line coming out of the expansion tank was supposed to go to the lower radiator hose instead of the water manifold. Mm-hmm.
So somebody working on it before messed it up, right? And
yeah, the engine was swapped out on it right before I bought it. And the guy told me it ran for a year, and he just couldn't find a driver to put in it. Mm-hmm. So that's why he was selling it. Mm. That truck never ran a day on the road the way it was set up.
Yeah. So he swapped the engine, and then obviously somebody didn't know what they were doing, right?
Yeah.
And so, but you were able to drive it back home when you bought it?
Yeah. With no load, it would run all day long.
Okay.
Wouldn't push coolant or anything.
So what did you learn with that experience? What takeaways do you have as buying a first truck? What would it teach you?
Bring a mechanic with you.
Yeah, right.
For sure.
Kind of a obvious thing that we keep talking about, and I always say pre-purchase inspection, which a lot of guys that I've done it before too. You just want to buy a truck because you're so ready, you know. And I've done it multiple times where before I was just like, well, you know, I know a little maybe because my knowledge obviously I've been compounding it for a long time, and I'm comfortable with what I see right now. Even if I'm taking a risk, I know we can handle it obviously at our own shop. But how was your knowledge when you were buying the first truck?
Well, I've really never been around semis, so all my knowledge is building Jeeps, pickup trucks, small diesel stuff.
Yeah.
Nothing heavy duty though. Yeah. Which is a lot different.
Yeah. So how would you say right now? Are you familiar? Are you?
Yeah, learning? I learned a lot.
Yeah.
That truck taught me a lot.
Okay. So that would be the win is that since you're gearhead, I guess that's okay for me to say that, right? You like cars,
Oh,
and so do I, and that's why I'm into trucking. But that lesson helped you to accelerate your learning around trucks. And now, so tell me the next one that you bought. What happened after that?
So then after that, I bought a 2015 Freightliner Cascadia with 326,000 miles on it, 10-speed. And I bought that from a dealer, actually, before everything went crazy with the pricing.
Yeah.
And I had a friend look at it. It was a mechanic, checked it out, everything checked out good. And that truck's made my company what it is today, actually.
Yeah. And tell me, are you leased onto somebody? Can we touch on that briefly?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm leased onto a friend of mine, Diversified Transfer Systems.
Okay, perfect. Do you guys have a website that we can direct people there?
I'm not
or a
sure
Facebook group?
I have a Facebook under my company name.
Okay.
Old
perfect.
Glory Trucking.
Old Glory Trucking Facebook group. We'll post it in the video, the link in the comments. So check it out. If you guys are looking for work, Mike is hiring.
Yeah.
But so that truck, and you started driving that truck, right?
Correct.
Okay. And then, so tell me how the second purchase, when you were buying that second truck, how that happened, and were you comfortable buying that second truck since you learned so much on the first one?
I was. So in the meantime, when the Mac was down, I was running another Mac, my friend's truck, which was a lot newer, better shape.
Yeah.
It was a 2016 or 17, so low miles, and I actually got to experience what a newer truck running properly should run like.
Yeah, yeah.
You know.
Comfort and when everything works properly, right?
Yeah.
And so you started driving it, and then you bought it at the right time, right? You would agree that it was pre-pandemic, right? That you did
It was right when it started going up. So
right before, last year's winter, spring, because I remember I bought a lot last year, and then spring it started going up.
I picked up the Freightliner in late June.
Okay, so right about that time, because I bought March, April, and I already saw prices going up and the demand going up. So okay, and you did reefer with that truck as well?
Yes.
Okay, and tell me, how was the buying process? Was that did you find anything wrong with the truck? Was there anything that you learned from the second time buying a truck?
That truck actually, we didn't have any issues with it. We put it on the road and got DOT on it right away, and no problems. Just oil changes so far. I think we had a coolant expansion tank that cracked through the winter. That was the only issue I had with it.
Okay. And what's the average mileage you do weekly on it?
About 2,000, a little less sometimes.
Okay. And can you tell me where are you based out of? Where are you guys at? What city?
We're at Genoa City.
Okay. So the reason I'm asking is, how far is it from Chicago? An hour?
About an hour and a half, yeah.
Okay. So I'm trying to maybe understand are you pulling out of Chicago a lot, or is it?
No,
are you staying
we're pulling out
there?
of Wisconsin, loaded into Chicago, delivering to stores, and then usually rolling empty or pick up a backhaul on the way back up.
Okay, so that because I'm thinking about the average mileage. My average truck is about 2,200 miles here. So I'm trying to kind of understand a little better where you guys at. How's that? 2,000, and you're working with reefer. You said drive and reefer, right? You own both?
It's power only.
It's power only. So you guys.
I do have a drive van and a flatbed.
Okay.
But most of the work we do is power only.
Okay. How do you find the power only model working for you guys?
Right now, it's working good. It's been consistent. I'm not sure if that's because of how busy and short-handed everybody is. Yeah. But it's been very consistent.
Yeah. I believe them. I mean, I do a ton of power only, and that's I feel like that's where it's going, because you just carriers and big brokers and oil boards have so many trailers.
Mm-hmm.
Why not use theirs? And
Yeah.
you know, I know every time power only is such a good model. It's a lot easier than hopping into becoming an owner operator and still also adding on the purchasing of the trailer and all that, the other
now.
things. Yeah, especially now with the prices. I mean, this not everything's affected by it. You know what I mean? So nothing is. It's like everything is a lot more expensive, and trailers are too. But now you have to know what to buy and how. That just adds on to the startup kind of prep for when you're starting to be an owner operator. So tell me, so what about the third truck? Because I think you just bought something, right?
Yeah, so 2 weeks ago, just picked up a 2016 Volvo.
Okay, 2016 Volvo. Tell me about that. Mileage, spec, what's in it?
It's got D13, 10-speed, 560,000 miles on it.
Okay.
So it's a first sleeper truck for me because I've had the Mack and the Freightliner both day cabs.
Day
'Cause we're
cabs.
local.
Yeah.
But there's been a lot of live loads that we've been doing
Mhm.
even with the power only that it's just one of the bigger cabs. Sitting somewhere for 3 hours.
Yeah, you can just lay down, take a nap. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Are you planning to do some OTR with it?
Not right now.
Mm-hmm.
Try to stay local. Being home every night is nice.
Yeah, of course. Is $5 per mile rate also nice?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding, because it's you're right. I mean, it is. That's the majority of how I did things. Was I wanted to be home with kids, and that's what a lot of guys think about. But at the same time, I was willing to go out, and run and stay out if I had to.
Mm-hmm.
But I totally hear you. So tell me again, Volvo, what year and what? And
2016.
2016.
D13.
D13. iShift.
No, a 10-speed.
It's a 10-speed.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you pick a 10-speed, or you just found that truck and bought it? Did you want a 10 manual?
I want to stick with manual
Mhm.
for right now because it's out of warranty and less to go wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So how's that buying experience?
It was good.
Yeah.
It was a used truck from a used truck dealer.
Yeah.
So there was some stuff that needed to be addressed and still needs to be addressed on the truck, but
Mm-hmm.
with the taking the current market into consideration, it's pretty good.
Okay. And you're trying to put driver in it, or you're gonna drive it? What's your plan for it?
I'm actually going to run the Volvo, and
Yeah.
my brother is going to be coming on with me pretty soon here, and he's going to be running the Freightliner.
Okay.
So.
What are you thinking about going into the next few years? Of what's your goal? What are you trying to do?
Just to kind of keep going the same route we've been going, stay local, maybe hire on 1 or 2 drivers tops, and
Mm-hmm.
just kind of stay small.
Yeah.
With right now, to buy a truck, it's everything's so overinflated that
Yeah.
just kind of wait it out, I guess. Run with what we have and see what happens.
Yeah, I 100%. That's why we talked previously about, it's like emission trucks. I've been buying gliders again because the emission trucks are so expensive. It's just like I don't want to have that risk. I shared it previously. It's like I would rather deal with that higher priced glider because I know it's reliable than having an emission truck. But they're still hard to find. I mean, I've been buying from Poly, but if you look, you can find them obviously, but still, like, I always recommend owners look at gliders first when they buy.
Yeah, well, they're hard to find. That's the problem, and a lot of them are overpriced right now.
Yeah.
They're 700,000, 800,000, 900,000 miles.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to spend $70,000 on that truck, and you might need an overhaul.
Yeah. So to that point, an overhaul you can probably fit in within $20,000 on a truck like that, and it's going to give you another 5 years. That's how I look at it. And if you're buying an emission truck, you're going to spend that only on emissions. If you have to replace, if you're not deleting, right? So, but then again, if you're deleting, then you better do. And I'm not recommending deleting. Just so everybody doesn't say I delete or I support deleting. No, I don't. But if you do it right. That's how that's and what is right. You know, you have to know the guy that's doing it. So you just somebody that tells you, hey, I deleted trucks, I can delete it for you, doesn't mean that they're gonna do it right.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah,
with a lot of research, and there's good deletes and there's bad deletes. And
what do you think is a good delete? Because I think we've touched on it previously too. On what do you think is a good delete? Is there such thing from what you saw? Because you also worked on cars and diesel trucks, like just medium size, right? Like
pickup trucks.
Trucks, yeah. So what's your experience with deleting emissions or not? I'm not asking you if you did. I'm asking you what are you seeing? What's the difference between heavy duty and pickup trucks?
The tuning is really big on both of them, but you have less issues with overheating in a smaller engine like a pickup truck. Yeah. And it's a lot cheaper to do, and there's a lot more readily available. You know, it seems like with the pickup trucks, you can go online and you can find good tuners all day long. Yeah. With the semi, you can't. Yeah. It's very. Nobody wants to talk about it because of
it's
the
regulated. It's a commercial, issue. It's a big thing. So it is a big thing also on the pickup truck side because I mean, I don't know if you watch Diesel Brothers or anybody that is in trouble because of that, and it's going to start happening for fleets, and it's happening in fleets in some ways, right? But that's a very extensive topic because I have an opinion about it that I don't necessarily want to dive into right now because it's extensive one. But when you do deletes in pickup trucks, are you straight piping everything or are you keeping some of it, or how does that even work? I've never actually.
A lot of them will just give you race pipes, and you could run a muffler on it if you want
to reduce the noise, but you're pretty much taking everything out, right?
Yeah, and you could block off the EGR or remove everything completely.
It's similar in semi trucks. The problem is that if you're straight piping it or if you're keeping things on it, it would obviously, if you find a officer that knows what he's looking at, he's going to very easily figure it out. When you're keeping it, you're running into SCR clogging the SCR, which is the biggest thing that when you, because what I've seen is people drill through DPFs and then not only that collapses, which happened multiple times. I've seen it in my shop, and I was just like, wait, what's going on here? And we take it apart, and it's completely collapsed, which is causing a lot of issues. And then that's clogged up, and then it's clogging up the SCR. And they're like, hey, what's going on with my engine? I've mentioned before in the podcast, I have multiple guys that actually lost engines because of it. So especially the 16-17s Cummins, I had two Petes, one Peterbilt, I forgot, two Peterbilts, 370, I forgot the model, what was the model, but he lost an engine, and then the other guy also lost an engine because of it, and they just ignored a lot of signs that they shouldn't.
Yeah, I've seen that in research a lot, that a lot of guys, 30, 40,000 miles, they think they're good, and then all of a sudden, engine's dead. Yeah.
What do you think is going on in the market right now? What have you observed being somewhat fresh to the market? Like what are you seeing in trucking? Because you entered at I would say at almost peak, which is a good move. But what are you seeing? What do you think is happening?
The prices are going through the roof. It's when I was looking for my first truck. That Volvo, the 2016, I find it all day long for $35,000, $40,000.
Yeah.
And now if you get a deal, you're looking at 60, 70.
Yeah.
I've seen them with those miles. I've seen Cascadias with 500,000 miles for going for $100,000.
Yeah. Yeah. New ones are 220, 240.
Yeah.
You know, when you went from 160, 170, depending on obviously what specs and what you're buying, but it is, and that's why it's very interesting to see. I feel like we're going to be in trouble because the average spot market rates, I'm just talking about spot market right now, the rates are dropping, and I'm sensing a little bit of kind of worry that it's going to be slowing down. I believe that we need a break from the red hot market that's been happening for a long time. So I think that's what's happening, but I think it's going to stay strong for another year or two, just because if you look at the vessels waiting to get into ports, it's triple what it used to be, you know. And then East Coast, the same thing. Even all the ones that are going to the East Coast to avoid West Coast ports, they're stuck over there waiting to get in, right? Okay. Which last time I checked, it was like 9 to 11 vessels, which usually it's about 3, I think, is the norm. So there's still a lot waiting to get in, but we'll see. It's going to be interesting because everybody paid so much. The guys that entered, and because do you feel like you overpaid on some of your trucks?
The Volvo, I definitely.
You think so?
Overpaid by probably about, I'd say, a good 20,000.
Yeah. Are you? Because we talked about, I also overpaid on a couple of trucks. On some I didn't. I bought a decent amount right before the price hikes, which now I can be. Now with the gliders, they're expensive, but I need to swap. I'm at a point where I have to swap at least 3-4 more trucks, and then I'm going to be good for a little bit. And that's what happens when you're put in a corner in a market that's hot.
Yeah.
And it's like I have owners still that either drive for me. Like they come like, hey, I want to buy a truck. I'm like, just send me the specs, send me the price. And this one guy just bought a truck. He actually paid a pretty decent price because it's a 600,000 mile Cummins Peterbilt 570. What's the model? 579. And he actually paid a really good like below market average price on it. So it still happens. You can still find something if an owner, or there's something really bad going on, which we are doing a pre-trip it's I think it's post-purchase inspection because he already bought it. But okay, so how did your move to become an owner operator impacted your life? And small fleet, because you're trying to build a small fleet for yourself, from what I'm understanding, right?
For 16 years, like I said, I was in the shop. So I was used to 12-hour days, running 6 days a week. So coming into an owner-operator, that didn't change a whole lot. I just, I'm trying to get ahead right now. There's a lot of expenses when you're starting up. And, to run the 6 days a week, it stayed the same, Other than that, I get more home time, though, actually, believe it or not, than I did over there, just because the hours the way they are. Yeah.
But tell me about the startup expenses, and what is some of the struggles that you went through that you would tell yourself now after a year, what would be the advice you would give yourself when you were starting?
Well, I mean, when I started up, banks don't want to fund a new company, especially if you've got no experience in the industry. So that was my biggest hurdle, was trying to get my first truck, and you get what you pay for. That was what I learned the most. I found that truck for cheap.
Yeah. What's cheap?
I think it was $12,000.
Yeah, that's.
So for a pre-emissions truck,
that's a Honda Accord price.
Yeah. And with the rates the way they were, I'm like, oh wow, I'm gonna be able to buy my next truck. Real quick, get something nice. But that was that turned into a money pit instead of making me money.
So what's the lesson from that? Just
Definitely bring a mechanic with you, right?
yeah. And then what would you do different about that first purchase now, since you know all that?
Probably looked a little bit longer for the right truck. You know, at that time you could still get those, you know, day cab Macs for under 20,000.
Yeah.
And there were some good ones out there, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
This one just I missed a bunch of things that were,
Yeah.
you know, red flags.
Yeah.
Now that I would see, but starting up, you know, just you want to get that first truck to get things moving.
Yeah. Did you have any flexibility, or what was your budget when you were jumping into that? Was that something that you could have paid more, or you didn't want? Like,
I could have. I didn't want to. I wanted to keep as much money as I could in the bank for repairs, because I knew anything I was going to get is going to need money.
Mm-hmm. What was the percentage? Like, what would you say the ratio was when you buy a truck for, let's say, $15,000? What do you think you need?
I mean, you need, if you're going to buy a truck for 15, you need to probably have at least another 30, 40 in the bank.
Yeah.
You know, especially if you don't have income coming in from another job or something. It's everyone's busy. Mechanics are busy. Stuff takes time.
Yeah, 100%. That's a very valid point, which I don't hear a lot from owners. Is that I get this question asked a lot. It was like, how do you start up? And that's why I asked you, because I think you do need at least the same amount to in the bank, the $20,000 minimum for anything that you're buying, just because you want to have that cushion for no matter what, right? Like, that's probably one of the biggest things that I see with owners is they have nothing for maintenance.
Yeah, and that could bankrupt you real quick. I mean, it's looking at trucks online too. I was finding trucks with 300,000-400,000 miles that said fresh overhaul.
Yeah.
So when you're buying something, I was keeping that in the back of my mind. You know, it's a low mile truck, but you don't know how those 300,000 miles were treated before you bought it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I usually like to plan for worst case scenario.
Yeah. Nice. So have you maintained that cushion? You've obviously probably repaired a decent amount. Were you able to maintain some of that cushion?
There were some highs and lows, but for the most part, yeah, it was actually I was building most of the time. That way, been actually operating in business for 9 months about, and in the 9 months I was able to buy 3 trucks, have a flatbed trailer and a 53-foot dry van. So buying all this equipment, is constantly taking money too.
Yeah. And you're financing, obviously, right? You're trying to finance because
most of the stuff I finance.
Freightliner is financed, and then your Volvo.
Yeah.
So you're keeping that cushion somewhat, I would say, fluffy, just so you have some.
Doing my best, yeah.
Yeah. Was there anything that cost you the most that you were like, I didn't expect that expense when you bought any of those, or the new Volvo even when you're starting to?
Not really. I mean, that Mac was really
nothing hit you like in the face right away.
The Mac.
The Mac did?
Yeah,
they meant the first one.
That truck, just buying a truck and going through all the motions, not being able to run it for even one day, starting up. That's.
Yeah.
And it was down for probably a good 3 months before it was running.
Oh wow! So you were ready to roll. So what did you do if it was you had that truck down? Did you drive?
I was able to use my friend's truck, the guy I'm leased onto.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's always good when you have that option of hopping in a different truck.
Yeah.
And now you still have that Mac, right?
Yes.
And so is that like your spare truck almost? Do you use it still?
I actually just took the plate off of it to put on the Volvo. We transferred it over.
Oh, you transferred it. Okay. Yeah.
So for now, it's just kind of hanging around. Maybe if I need it as a spare truck, I'll put a plate back on it. But
yeah. I'm a big proponent of spare trucks, just especially when you starting multiple unit operation. It's always good to have one. And then, have you you've been leased onto your friend's company. How's that? How are you seeing the insurance? Was it easy? Was it hard for you guys to get insurance? Because
surprisingly, it wasn't.
It wasn't. When did he started that? How long ago?
He's been running for over 20 years.
Oh, okay. So it's not.
So his rates compared to what I was, because when we were starting out, I was going to run under my own authority and get insurance, and the quotes I was getting were just insane.
So that tells me more. So he's been operating for a long time. That's why he's getting good. Okay, that's perfect. That's probably one of the big takeaways is if you are trying to, because I always tell people, like, the ultimate step up for an owner up is to have your own authority. But the problem is that the bar to entry is so high with everything that it makes that much harder to succeed, right? Because the insurance is so much more expensive. So the best way is to find somebody that actually has a either one or two truck authority that's been around for a long time. So it has to be still active. That's one of the things I hear a lot. Like, guys are buying MCs from people and they're not active. I'm like, you might as well start another one,
Yeah.
I just paid $17,000 for an MC. I'm like, let me look it up. It's deactivated 2 years ago. Okay, good, awesome. So, are you planning on getting your own authority?
One day. I mean, we'll see how it goes. Right now, being leased on to somebody isn't really that bad.
Yeah, 100%.
It depends, because I've heard some people taking 30-40%. And that's where a lot of it is, it's...
So, yes. So, however you guys structure it, obviously makes sense for you, right? But I always tell people that owners, because there is no one broad or like equal mark between all the percentages. You have to dig into deeper to understand what the percentage actually is. Oftentimes I see carriers just telling owners what they want to hear versus giving them dry facts, right? And that happened to me multiple times. That's why I always tell owners, look, we're always here at my company willing to sit down and really show you what the real number is, because there's so much, I don't want to use that word because that's a bad word, but there's a lot of like just foggy stuff that's happening, and then they can dress it up however they want. Well, we're only charging you 10%. Well, okay, but 10% of what? And then are you actually showing me the rates that you're getting? All that stuff, right?
Yeah.
So I'm 100% agreeing with you. If you have a friend that's been doing that for a while, because again, you don't have to start your own authority. You can just buy it from somebody. You can seek out owners and it's an aging industry. There's a lot of owners that go out of business. It's not going to be easy to find one, but it's going to be a lot better and easier for you to maintain it and to grow it than starting something from scratch right away. And then, you get a insurance quote for $30,000.
Yeah.
It's like, are you kidding me? How are you supposed to make money? And that's just a part of it, because then everything else falls into place with the startup costs, right? Okay. I already asked you what advice would you any other advice you would give yourself now, with maybe what type of work or running? How would you do things? Is there anything else that you're like, I could have done that different?
Honestly, right now everything's going, I'd say, as good as I could have imagined it to.
That's awesome.
So there's nothing I'd really change.
Just the truck buying. You're just getting better at it, obviously. Hopefully, because you're still fresh into it, so you don't know how long, what's going to happen in life. As it is with emission trucks, you're probably waiting for something's already happening that's building up that you're going to have to probably address pretty soon.
Yeah.
But are you overall happy with your move?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, definitely.
You think that was a good career change?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was. It's quite a difference being in a shop every day and then getting outside, and now you're on the road every day. It's different, but for me, it's a good change.
Yeah. Is your family happy that you changed?
Yeah,
They are?
yeah. Kids are happy, wife's happy, so.
Good. That's the most important thing, man. All right, Mike, appreciate you. Thank you for coming again. We covered a lot, and yeah, I'm glad we get to chat a little bit. And again, appreciate you coming here.
Sounds good.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Quick reminder to share, subscribe. It really helps us out. And visit our YouTube channel. Watch hundreds of videos of content. And if you're looking for a job as a truck driver or an owner operator, visit erateam.us. It's ERA team.us. Thank you, and talk to you soon.